Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be modding my Super A'Can for RGB. Now I know most of you have never heard of this console before. If you're looking for a more in-depth history of this console, there are other channels that go into greater detail on its history. For this video I'm just focusing on the RGB mod. This console outputs composite and RF, so I'll be removing the RF module and replacing it with an 8-pin mini DIN port. When I removed the 6 screws and went to lift the top half of the shell, the power switch was mounted to the top half. Fortunately, it could be unplugged from the board. So here's what the inside of the console looks like. This chip here is the RGB encoder. I can pull up the datasheet for it and figure out which pins are the RGB and composite outs. So before the board could be removed, I had to remove some more screws. And here's the bottom half of the board. So here's the RF module. I'm going to be removing it. So just desolder a couple of points here and this should come right out. With my desoldering gun I cleared these pins. Now my tool was giving me some trouble. I hadn't serviced the tool in a while and there was gunk and debris caught in the tip in the nozzle, so I didn't get real good suction. For these larger anchor pins I just used a piece of desoldering braid and they cleared right up. So the ground pins, they were clear more or less. The ones that were still anchored in were the 3 pins I'd cleared with the desoldering gun, and since I didn't get great suction, we're off to a great start. We pull up traces and tear out through holes. Fortunately enough, I'm not going to need to use RF anymore, so I really don't care that I did that. I've since ordered a smaller tip. Hopefully that helps clearing through holes a little better, and I've actually cleaned out all the gunk and debris out of my tool. So it's a lesson learned. Hopefully next time it doesn't happen again. So here's the 8-pin mini DIN jack that I'm going to use. I ordered this off Console 5 about a year ago. So this video is about a year in the making. I drew a little diagram for the pinout that matches the 8-pin mini DIN cable I ordered from Retro Gaming Cables. So this chip here is the RGB encoder. It's a Samsung chip and I have the datasheet on my phone here. Now even though I do have the datasheet, since I'm not an engineer, I don't have any formal training, I don't know anything. The majority of all this stuff I don't understand. But on the last page here, as far as RGB, I see that pin 23, 22, 21, and 20 is RGB and composite video out. And similar to my Amiga CD32, each signal line needs a 470 microfarad capacitor and a 75 ohm resistor. So I'm going to be doing that right now. So here's the part of the video where things get a little crude. I don't actually have any perf boards. I should look to get some, but for now I'm going to use heat shrink and just isolate each cap and resistor so they don't touch anything. In the end it's going to look a bit amateurish, but it's for me and I don't really mind. Also keep in mind that the positive lead of the capacitor, the anode, has to go towards the RGB encoder chip, and the cathode, the negative lead, the one with the stripe, in this case it has a resistor tied to it, has to go towards the AV port. Now even though I'm putting heat shrink over the capacitors and resistors, it's not going to be airtight, so there's no risk of exploding, so these capacitors should still have some room to breathe. So in this clip here I didn't center my camera properly, so I didn't get a great shot, but with the pair of pliers you can actually remove every pin on the DIN connector, and then what I did was I soldered all my RGB lines to the DIN connector pins, and then I reinserted them back in. So this is a 100 ohm resistor. So on my previous RGB mod I put on the RGB switching voltage, I used the 100 ohm resistor. So I'm going to do the same for this mod. These two wires are for left and right audio. Now on these lines I don't add any resistors. So this port actually has a rib, a plastic rib that goes across the threads. So with my wire cutters I actually clipped that rib off. I forgot to record, but it wasn't really that important. Later on you'll see how that turned out. The datasheet for this chip stated that the second to the top left is red, the third is green, the fourth is blue, and then the fifth pin is composite video. So referencing this video, red signal wire is red, the orange is green, the yellow is blue, and green is composite video. So after lining up these leads more or less off camera, I added some flux and now I'm going to solder them down. Now keep in mind, in this video this chip might look massive, but in reality this chip is small. Soldering to pins this small on this chip is tough, at least for me. For the RGB there was no way around it, I had to solder them to the chip legs. But for the composite video there was a via there, so I pushed the wire through the via and I soldered it to the bottom half of the board. Looking back, these joints don't actually look too bad. They're all shiny, so they're not cold joints, but I'm always cynical of my own work. So let me know down in the comment section down below if I did a good job here or not. I think it looks okay. So right here with the multimeter, I'm actually going to test for continuity and make sure nothing is bridged. No. Just disregard the wall clock. So for the RGB switching voltage, I need 5 volts. So the 7805, the pin on the right has 5 volts. I also used a thicker piece of wire. So here's one of the wires for ground. I also used a thicker gauge and I actually anchored it to where the RF port was. These two wires here are left and right audio, and I'm just going to pull audio from the underside of the RCA jacks. The hole where the RF port wasn't large enough, so I'm going to line up the nut here and then I'm going to Dremel out what I need to Dremel out to make the hole larger. Skipping ahead a little bit, this is how it turned out, and as you can see the port sits pretty snug. So with all the cables inserted back into the port, I'm going to tie the ground now, which is good because the ground is shorter than all the other cables, so there's no chance that I can rip up the port by mistake without pulling the ground first. And I'm actually going to tie two grounds, one to each side of this port. Now I need a little finessing to get this port to go through the hole. I have a nut on the outside because I'm going to screw it from both sides. One nut from the inside of the console and one nut from the outside. So first I pass the port all the way through. As you can see, that little rib that went around the threads is no longer there. And I'm going to adjust the nut perfectly with the bottom half of this console. And then on the inside I'll just tighten it. Also keep in mind, one of the pins on the port was a ground, that center pin that's missing, and I decided not to put a ground there because I have two grounds on the side and I don't really think I need that middle pin to be a ground. Now I could definitely be wrong on that, so I'm not really sure. As I put this board back into place, you can get a good shot of what it looks like. Clearly it's not going to win any awards. I know I could have used a perf board and made things a little neater. But like I said before, this is for me. I don't mind it looking like this, as long as it works. Console reassembled. Here's the finished product. Doesn't look too bad. I've seen way worse. Great thing about this mod is it still retains composite video, so I could actually compare RGB to composite, which I'm going to do right now. So first up, composite video, and you're going to see a lot of fuzzy video, smoothed edges, and blurriness, but when I switch over to RGB, you'll see a big difference. Now take note of the character select screen, the shadows on the boxes, the difference between composite versus RGB. This game is weird. It's like a board game and I can't read Mandarin or Cantonese, whatever this is, so I can't really even enjoy it, and I don't know why Hitler's in this game. I actually have to tweak some settings. I have to restore everything to defaults, and I can't actually go 5x on this TV because it's a 720p, so I could only do 4x. As you can see right now, there's no more shadow. Now it's a checkerboard pattern, so everything is crisp and sharp. One thing I noticed is when the images fade to black, for the split second the OSSC loses sync. So if there's an option that I can tweak, let me know in the comments section down below how to fix that, if there's a way to do it. Well, it looks like that's going to do it for this video. I know I haven't posted in a while, and I don't know when I'll be posting again. I don't really have any more projects as of right now. Either way, I still hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you for watching.